How's it, everyone? Wayne the Unknown here, and welcome back to another episode of Cosplay Con Talk, where we basically discuss everything pertaining to the cosplay community and conventions. I'm joined here once again. You may have seen them from the 2022 convention recap. I'm joined here by Joel the Geek. How are we doing tonight, Joel?
I'm doing well. Thanks for having me on the show.
You are very welcome again. Thank you for coming back. But this time, we are going to be talking about your cosplay and convention experiences and what it's like being a cosplayer. So to begin, how long have you been cosplaying for, and what got you into this hobby?
I have been cosplaying since about 2015, 2016. What got me into it was I'd been going to some conventions for a while, and I'd seen people in cosplay, and I made some friends that were cosplayers. And I was like, I really want to try this. And I wanted to try something a little different. And yeah, so I went to Rose City Comic Con. I think it was either 2015 or 2016. I did a video where I was dressed in my cosplay at that con. I did a vlog of the con dressed in my cosplay. And then the next con I went to was Emerald City Comic Con. And at one point I was around other cosplayers and we were all in the cosplays and we're just hanging out. And I felt like, oh my gosh, I found somewhere I belong. I feel like I belong somewhere. And it was really great. And it made me feel like, yeah, like just happy and excited to be there.
Nice. What was your cosplay for that con?
The cosplay for that first con was a out of the ordinary, different kind of cosplay. Because sometimes I do that. I don't like to do I don't do too many like regular like this is the character. Like I put a bend on it or a different kind of take on them. So I did a punk rock version of Hawkeye.
Ooh.
And
I
I wish
remember
I
you were talking. I remember you were talking about how you did that a while back too,
yeah,
for
it
this
was my
year,
first
for last
one.
year.
Yeah, and I really liked doing it, and so it made me do two more of those kind of cosplays where I'm a punk rock version of the character. Actually, three.
Nice.
Excuse me, three. I no wait. There's Hawkeye, Nightwing, Havoc, and Prince. Oh, so four. There's four versions of a punk rock character.
Punk rock. I'll just write punk rock characters. And do you have video of your very first con blog?
I
For
do.
those who may
I
want.
can give you the link to that vlog that shows it.
Yes, please
Yeah,
do. I can use that as the
because
image
I really
source so
don't
people
have
will
like
know.
too many pictures of my cosplays because I have a tendency to be very like shy. I'm a very extroverted person, but there are sometimes things that I get very shy about and very like insecure about, and so then I don't do it. So
That's
I haven't
that's
had
that's
too
that's
many.
totally valid. There is, as I always say, and I know if Bob ever watches this, he'll catch me on it. There is nothing wrong with that.
Mm, there isn't. So that's the thing is the first few years I went to cons and cosplayed, I didn't get photos. And so I didn't have anyone take photos, or I didn't have anyone take my phone and say, "Hey, take a photo of me," or get any of the photographers that were doing photography to get pictures of me. And so like there's not too many pictures of that first few years. And then as time has gone by, I've gotten more pictures, as you'll see from the pictures I'll send you. They're more of the more recent cons I've been to than the ones I went to in the beginning.
Nice. So, if you can remember, over the past couple of years that you've been doing this, how many cons have you gone to? Because I remember you telling me you've over the past few years you've been to some pretty well known ones too.
So I got into comic book conventions mainly because of comic books. I've been collecting comic books since I was about 10 years old.
As we can see in the background.
Yes, those are some newer comic books, as you can see. And yeah, I started going to comic book conventions in I think around 11 or 12, and the first one I went to was San Diego Comic Con. So I went to that for a few years, probably a decade, and then went
Wait,
to
you were a kid. Wait, you were a kid when you did this?
yeah. I didn't do
So wait, how
cosplay
wait?
as a kid. I did
Well,
cons when I was a kid.
that kind of that counts, and I count that as in a category. I'm also going to probably add it cosplay and convention veterans. By the way, I'm not to like make this rude. How old are you?
I'm in my 40s.
So you've been going to this for the past 30 years.
Well, I wouldn't say a full 30 years. There's a big. That's what I was just gonna say. Is there's a big gap. I went to
Well,
college, and
I
then
still
I took a break from
I
con
sound
and cosplay for a while.
I still count that. I still count that altogether. So you've definitely since the '90s, you've definitely seen your fair share of the convention scene, though.
I
Especially
could
when like
do a whole
back in the
video
'90s when
about
people
an
were
hour.
like,
Yeah, I could do an hour-long video just about what I did and saw in the '90s at comic book conventions. Just being a
I will
person.
definitely have to. I'll have to have you on and another buddy of mine who's been doing that since then. That'll be fun. We'll get more into that for another
Sure. Yeah,
segment,
that's
but
like a whole
like
other video.
you've gone so you're very technically your very first convention was San Diego Comic Con
Yes.
as a kid back in the
Yes.
'90s.
Yes.
Back then, because I've heard from a few people. What was it like back then? I want to hear your little take on
Like I said,
SDCC back in the '90s.
that's like its own vlog video. That is so. That's a huge loaded question. But to get back to your question about like conventions in the like I call my modern era of convention going started in like 2015 20 no 2009, and I went to um what was it, Emerald City Comic Con, and got the bug to go to comic book conventions again. And so from there I went on to go to Emerald City Comic Con a lot, and then found out about Rose City Comic Con. And so in 2015, I went to Rose City Comic Con for the first time, and decided to cosplay. So I spent the weeks leading up to that making my cosplay, and yeah. So then since then, I've been to Rose City Comic Con, Emerald City Comic Con, Vancouver Fan Expo, Sakura Con. Trying to think what else. Anime Revolution. Um, I'm trying to like in my mind make a map of the Seattle Pacific Northwest, because it's mainly been in the Pacific Northwest. I've been to comic book conventions. I've been to one in Renton. I've been to one over on Whidbey Island a few times. I went to one that was in Bellevue. I've been to three that were in Bellevue. They were really small cons. I don't think they exist anymore. So yeah, I've been to lots of cons just in the last like 10, 15 years.
Jeez. So next question, advice for those who are wanting to go to their first con, whether so I like to split this up into two categories as of recent. Advice for con goers who are wanting to go to their first con, and also advice for cosplayers who are wanting to go to their first convention.
Okay. So actually, it's funny. I did a series on my TikTok about tips for going to comic book conventions for the first time. And the biggest things that I say to people is to stay hydrated and
Drink your water.
drink your water, stay hydrated. Bring your own water bottle to drink from and refill from, because buying food and drink at a con is very expensive. But also
Yeah.
bringing cash, because if you're going to buy things, it's better to have cash, because sometimes people's credit card readers and Wi-Fi don't work too well, and
Mm-mm.
so cash is king. I always tell people to do. So, and have a budget of cash, so then you like have money available to buy things. So that's the two biggest things. And I just say, take your time. Just take your time, because depending on how many days or hours you're there, there's going to be a lot to see, and you don't want to try and see everything at once. So take your time. So if you're able to afford to go to multiple a con that has multiple days, then take your time to like read up on the con beforehand. If they have a website or something where you can learn about what's going on at the con and a map of the con, try and figure out things beforehand, so then when you go, you know where you're going, what you're doing. Because sometimes cons, if they're in a space that's like Emerald City Comic Con up until this coming year has been in this space that's really weird, and you can get lost. It's just before I went, I got lost so many times and turned around.
Don't
So,
get lost to don't get lost to ECC.
well, you're not gonna have to worry about that anymore, because they have a new convention center they're gonna be in, and it's a little bigger and a little better laid out.
I
So
remember you telling me about that in the convention recap episode.
yeah, so the new convention center, it's gonna be less hard to get lost in. You're still gonna get lost if you're new to a convention, especially if a space you've never been to. But take your time, and if you're feeling overwhelmed, take a break. So that's my short tip for anyone going to a convention first time.
Nice. And what about for cosplayers?
For cosplayers, don't let perfectionism get in your way. of making your cosplay, because that can make it hard to feel like it's gonna be something you're gonna have fun wearing, because that can keep you from having fun and enjoying the con, because you might feel too like, I didn't finish this, or I didn't make it the way I thought it was going to be. So don't put too high expectations on yourself when you're making your first cosplay to go and have it at a convention. Just make it the best you can and enjoy wearing it and being there in the con and doing whatever you want to do in the con wearing your cosplay.
And I'm sure you can also agree with this. Pick your cosplay accordingly, depending on where the con is and what the weather may be like.
Yes, and wear comfortable shoes. If your character you're cosplaying has stilettos that are made of iron and jagged edges, don't do the just don't do those shoes. You'll save yourself so much time and energy and pain not wearing those kind of shoes, because it's not worth it. It's just not
Oh
worth it.
no, I completely agree, and I'm sure you can also recommend break your shoes in if you're gonna almost all day at the con.
Yeah, don't wear them. Like, if you have special shoes for the character that you wear, like, don't wear them walking in. Like, put them in a bag and then change them to stand around in them for a while, and then change out of those shoes, because just alone shoes, you want to feel comfortable. And if you're going to
Oh
be in a
yeah.
cosplay all day, making sure you have comfortability is important.
Oh, wholeheartedly. And what are your thoughts, as I would put it, what is your thoughts on the convention exit buddy system, bringing someone with you just in
Mm.
case you get too overstimulated, just overwhelmed, and you just like need to tell your friend, hey, can we go somewhere else where it's like super crowded? Because convention floor, especially like the vendors and dealers and artists alley, can get very crowded.
Yeah, I always say have a buddy, someone with you. Some people use the word handler. Other people say a con mom or con dad. But having someone with you isn't in cosplay, who can be there to help you and support you in any way, whether it's emotionally or physically, is really great, because then that way you're not alone. And one, you won't find yourself in situations where you can't deal with things on your own, and you have like a safety net. So then you guys can find somewhere to go away from the crowds, away from the busyness. Some cons have what they call quiet rooms, where you can go and just like go quietly and sit and do stuff. Others have uh, hospitality lounges. That's a new thing that's starting to pop up at a lot of
Oh,
the bigger cons. I'm part of the Pacific Northwest Guild of Cosplayers, and the cons that we sometimes work with and get contracted to work to host some stuff at, we sometimes host a hospitality lounge, where it's a place you can go as a cosplayer, whether you're by yourself or others, and you just get away from the crowds and the people and the photographers and the oglers and the oglers and the hustlers and everything that comes up.
every one of their mother-in-law,
Yeah,
basically.
because I've been there where I've been sitting eating in a cosplay, or I've been with friends that were in cosplay, and people just come up at you, and you're in the middle of, like, chewing down on a piece of food,
And they're like,
and they're taking your picture without your permission, and you're like, no."
yes, please, I dare you to take a picture of me while eating this sandwich or something.
Yeah. So it's always good to have someone to be with you and who can help you find somewhere to get away from things, and they can be just that barrier or that buffer from anything that's going on, that you can, like you said earlier, I'm overwhelmed, I don't want to do this anymore. And they can be there to say, okay, let's go. Let's get out of here. And if it means you just leave the con 100%, that's fine too. Or if it means you guys find somewhere to go in within the con that you feel comfortable and safe, that's great too. Because then you can recharge and then feel like you can continue to go. Or just, you know what, get out of the cosplay. Bring an extra pair of clothes that you can go change in a bathroom or a changing room, and just not be in the cosplay, and you can still have fun.
Oh yeah. No, I wholeheartedly agree. I've done that before because, and I'm sure you can agree that sometimes your cosplay can just be too much, or you're like, you know what? I'm just gonna go around the con and just flick off my wig, put in the car, go back to the hotel, and just wear normal clothes because I'm
Yeah,
sure you can agree, or anyone who's watching this who has done it, like, yeah, I just want to like be in my normal clothes. I want to be Clark. I want to be Clark Kent, basically.
totally. Totally. I've known some people who actually have cosplays that aren't too large or aren't too big, that they can throw something on over it to cover
Mm.
it, and people don't even know they're wearing a cosplay.
Actually, that's a good term.
Like an incognito.
Clark hinting it.
Clark Kenning it. I'm gonna start using that one too.
So now, because you answered my question about the budgeting for cons. So by the time, let me check my notes here because I have. No, wait, back. So your interview will be out in. So your interview will be out in June of this year. So by then, what cons will you have gone to prior to this, and what cons will you be going to after this?
Okay, let me look at my calendar then. Let's see here. So for sure, the two cons so far that I know I'm going to are Fan Expo in in Portland, Oregon. That's in February. I will then be at Emerald City Comic Con in March.
Hmm.
And then possibly Sakura Con, which is an anime convention in Seattle in April.
Ooh.
Um, there might be a possibility I go up north to Alaska in May for
Ooh.
Arctic Comic Con. Um, there's a possibility I know for sure I will be either at Washington Summer Con in June, which is in Puyallup, Washington, or I might go to Lilac City Comic Con, which is in Spokane.
I have heard of Lilac City. A couple friends of mine have gone there, and I heard it's a pretty decent
Yeah,
decent small con.
I heard it was a decent con from my comic book store, and also I've met the guy who organizes it. He's a really nice guy. There's also possibly another anime convention in June called Wasabi Con in Portland.
I have heard of Wasabi Con.
Yeah, and in June, or excuse me, in July, I have no definitive plans, but I mean, I could, I could, I could go to San Diego. I don't
That's
have
true.
a badge to go to the con, but it's a con that's big enough that you really don't have to go in the con.
Oh no, because there's people always.
So,
Well, I feel like
I could be there. I don't
I
know
mean
there, but I could be
I
there.
feel like SDCC indoors is mainly for like the pop culture media stuff, while the
Yeah,
outside is more for like
yeah,
inside is like for the fans, outside is like for the cosplayers
yeah.
in a
It's
sense.
it's definitely that kind of thing where from what it was when I first went in, I think 88 or 89 compared to where it is now, it's a very different entity.
Oh, I don't doubt it.
It's
Um,
a very different entity. So, and you've inspired me to actually make a video just about what it was like going to San Diego Comic Con back then.
nice. Before we talk about cosplays and stuff, if since this won't be out in June, if you have the chance or you will have gone, there is Mid Valley Comic Art Expo in Salem, Oregon. It is in
Oh, I've heard
June.
about that. When is that?
It is in I'll once this is over, I will let you know when that is. But it's sometime in June this year. So, now on to the cosplay portion of this. First off, I got to ask, how long did it take to print that Dr. Fate helmet?
I
And
don't know
if you're
that question because I commissioned someone. I found an Etsy shop that makes Dr. Fate helmets.
Ooh.
And so here I'm going to bring it a little closer.
Yeah, please. I want to see that helmet just a little bit. Oh,
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 in camera.
oh, that's gonna take a lot of gold spray paint.
So originally, if you notice these parts that are sort of blackish in color,
Hmm.
that's the print filament he used was black.
Yeah, I remember you showing me the picture
Yeah,
of
I showed
like
you the rest
of you wearing like
wearing it black.
the I can't wait to see. So so I imagine you got to get the cape and the blue suit and the gloves and the boots next.
So that's the next part. Deciding it's I got this I think near the beginning of the pandemic, and I've gotten as far as priming it and sanding it once. So I need to finish priming and sanding it one more time. And another cosplayer named Frankly Built, he does all of his cosplays himself, 3D printed, and he's made a Doctor Fate helmet. And he recently on his Instagram showed how he did this painting and what kind of paint he used. So I need to get that paint and know how to make it shine. So that's the next step. So I have a step by step thing of what I need to
Could
do.
take a lot of lacquer.
It's going to take a lot of primer. I have to do one more prime, like regular white prime, and then a primer that's shiny, and then the actual gold to it.
Oh, so who's what con is Dr. Fate gonna be for?
I don't know yet because that's the next step. Is I have to figure out the outfit because if you Google Doctor Fate or Doctor Fate cosplay, there's so many different
Oh,
outfits.
I could. I mean, if you're, I mean, it'd be cool to see a punk rock Doctor Fate rock, comic book characters.
Don't make me add that to my list. Oh, I gotta add that to the list. Let me go open my list here and add Doctor Punk Rock version.
That'd be
Save.
pretty cool to see, though. Honestly,
I can't do
so
that. But yeah, I have to figure out which version of the suit I want to do because there's versions where he has these like shoulder pieces, other versions where he has like his cape with like a big high collar.
yeah, within the chain right here, yeah, and then you got that, and then you got the Pierce Brosnan and Doctor Fate from Black Adam, which
Yes, that's the other one. Well, that's a different helmet completely because that helmet you don't see, he can't see out of it.
oh yeah,
So like there's another cosplayer I know who's doing that version of Doctor Fate, and he's got a helmet where he made it to where he can see, but you can't see that he can't see because of the way the helmet is made.
oh yeah, no, I mean, I imagine I've seen the Doctor Fates where they have like they put like the white mesh underneath the over the things.
Yep.
Either way, it'll be cool to see your Doctor Fate once you haven't finished. So, and you already answered my question about your first cosplay. What's that one cosplay that you've not done in so long that you would like to bring back?
I think it would definitely be. I have a version of Hawkeye I did that's based on the David Aja or Matt Fraction version from the comic books, which is the reason I got this T-shirt I'm wearing because this is the T-shirt that he wears in that comic book, and I did it at the second time I went to Rose City, and it just means he's wearing his like very like nonchalant suit, and
Right.
he has some bruising on his face,
I'll
and
put that as comic book Hawkeye because I'm not going to remember the rest of what you just said.
yeah, comic book Hawkeye because it's the Matt Fraction David Aja version of comic.
Okay, Matt and David version. Okay,
Yes,
Matt
yes.
slash David.
And so I did that, and I used a different shirt, and I eventually added some other pieces later, but I haven't done it fully. Like I got a little plush dog that's supposed to be Lucky the pizza dog.
Oh,
Yeah,
I love it.
yeah. So I
Um,
wanted to do that again, and hopefully, maybe if Matt is and David Aja are at a con that I go to, I can get a picture with them because I did meet Matt in that version I did a long time ago, and I got him to sign some comic books, and he
ooh,
paused, looked up at me, and said, "That looks great." And I was on cloud nine the rest of the day.
nice. Okay, I'm looking at so images. I'm looking it up right now.
Yeah, if you put in Matt Fraction Hawkeye, that's usually how it comes up. So
Uh,
people forget that David Aja is the actual artist who drew that version. That's one of the covers of the trade paperback. But you can find others where he's wearing this, and he's got his bow and stuff like that. There's one where he's actually has Lucky and he's got pizza.
oh, someone made a stitching of it.
There it is. Yep.
Oh wow. Yeah, this is like a stitch someone made, like an actual like art piece of art.
Oh, that's cool. Okay. Yeah,
But yeah, that's pretty cool though.
yeah. It just means what I did is I put a band-aid over my nose to show that like my nose was broken. I just took some black eyeshadow and gray brown eyeshadow and made my one of my eyes look like it was had a black eye. Um,
Nice.
yeah.
Now, what's that one cosplay? I call them one and done's or will never do again cosplay.
Ooh. I don't know if I've actually reached that point yet.
Well, if you've been doing it for a few years, and you know that's totally understandable. Everyone will like.
I haven't reached a point where I've done a cosplay and thought, okay, that was really fun. I don't want to do that again. I think most of the cosplays I've done, I've like, I really like what I did, but I want to upgrade it, or I want to add more to it, or I just need to make the time to wear it again. So there's never been one where I've okay, I want to do this, and then I wore it and was like, wow, that was great, and I'm done. I'm retiring it. So I haven't retired anything. It's just doing them again, making time to do them again.
Actually, that's actually a good question to bring up next time if they have any retired cosplays. Thank you for that. I'll make
Sure.
sure to give you a shout out for bringing that up because I always like giving people shout outs when they come up with ideas.
Nice.
Or if I can remember their name, if not, I will say this so and so came up with this idea. So actually, I want to ask real quick, what has it been like doing punk rock versions of characters?
I think it's fun. I really like it. I get it. I get a kick out of it. I've actually part of the reason was inspired to do it was because I met other cosplayers who do it, and I was part of. I ended up impromptu joining a group of cosplayers that were punk rock, and then I joined another group of people that did punk rock. And so the second group I joined, we were doing punk rock Disney princes because some cosplayers we know did punk rock Disney princesses, and we're like, well, we need to do the princes then. We gotta have both groups, and so we all picked our princes we were gonna do, and I had punk rock Prince Eric, so I wore that where me made that, and I think I wore it to. I want to say it was Wizard World. I think it was Wizard World in Portland that I wore it to.
Which is now called Fan Expo, from what I've been
Now called
told.
Fan Expo. Yeah, yeah. Um, Yeah, I think I sent you some pictures of that. That one was really fun to do because it was the third time or fourth time I'd made a punk rock that used a jean jacket as like the foundation for the punk rockness, and I just went like I went full bore and like I took other things and repurposed them to make that. Like I found a T-shirt that had Little Mermaid Ariel on it, and she had like tattoos.
Yeah, I saw that you actually sent. I think we'll be using that one for the main thumbnail, and then probably like
I cut it out.
your
I cut out the shirt and
background.
I attached it to the back of the shirt, and then I found some rope that was very like almost sailor or ocean or boat like rope, and I that around it, and then I put some of it around the arms and put it on around the front of it, and I found a fabric that was like Ariel Little Mermaid themed. So I took that had little different characters on it, and I took those pieces off and put them on there as well, and I just had fun with it. It was just so much fun to do, and I'm looking forward to wearing it again. I probably will wear it again either at Portland Fan Expo or Emerald City Comic Con. I haven't decided yet.
Well, I'm looking forward to seeing it, honestly. Now, what has been your all-time favorite cosplay? Like, no matter what, you always enjoy cosplaying them.
One that I really enjoyed that I want to upgrade is Black Widow. I did a gender bent Black Widow, and I put together that one really piecemeal, and it was fun to do. But I realized there are some mistakes I made, and I want to make it better. So that was one I really enjoyed doing and wearing, and I think I sent you some pictures of it. Those I had some professional pictures done with someone called Triple Click.
I have. He has. They have been mentioned on this series a lot of times.
Oh yeah, cool.
Whether it's by name or when someone tells me, "Can you please make sure to mention the photographer's name?"
Yeah, Ben from
So
Triple Click. Triple Click Photo is a great. If you're ever at a
yeah,
con, just plugging him. If you're ever at a con in the Pacific Northwest, big ones like Emerald City or Rose City, he especially goes to, and you're a cosplayer, you should go to his booth. He has a booth that's set up that gives you some really cool professional photos at the con for a really great price, and it only takes a few minutes. So
nice,
just going and doing that if you end up at a con in the Pacific Northwest and he's at it. So that's my plug for him.
nice. So now, future cosplays you're currently working on, or so by the time this is out, the cosplays you will have done and cosplays you would want to do, and that one dream cosplay.
So the ones that I worked had wore before and didn't finish up, but I finished up. I'll try to send you some pictures of it. I was trying to send those pictures too, but I wasn't able to. But I'll send those to you. is my gender bent Kitty Pride from the Marauders comic book. That one I'll have finished, and we will be wearing this year at cons. Uh,
I remember you sent me that with the red jacket.
I have some other pictures too. I was trying to send
Ooh.
those to you before we went live. I wasn't able to get them to you, but hopefully I'll get them to you. And they show more of what I've structured and done with it. Then future cosplays, I don't know when I will get to. Like Dr. Fate, I don't have like a definitive date yet on when it will be available, but I think maybe 2024 I'll be wearing Dr. Fate.
Nice. Like and one more year, I can't wait to see, and hopefully I can see that in person because I've always wanted to see a Doctor Fate in person.
I think there's going to be a lot more Dr. Fates because of the Black Adam movie. I think there's going to be more of them out there than there were before.
Oh, most likely.
And then I have a few other ideas for characters that I have running around in my head, but I have never actually like definitively started working on them. It's one of those things where I'm like, oh, that's a good idea, and I write it down, and I never get to it. But so yeah, that's really it for right now. Maybe just upgrading some of the ones I have, like my punk rocks, like my Black Widow, upgrading that one. Um, yeah.
Nice. Cool. So now on to two of my favorite questions. First, I'll start cosplay mishaps. Something, a cosplay of yours that whether you're at the con or getting ready for the con, something ripped, torn, fall off, just anything that could go wrong did go wrong with your cosplay.
I can think of two off the top of my head. The first one is when I wore that Matt Fraction David Aja cosplay of Hawkeye. I also do archery, and so I have an actual real bow, and it
Ooh,
weighs 30
nice.
pounds. And I decided to carry it with me.
It's a heavy SOB.
Halfway through the day, I had to stop carrying it. I had to tear it down, and I didn't have anywhere to store it at the con. I was stuck there, so I had to buy one of the bags that they sometimes sell at the con to store the
Hey, you know those tote bags come in real handy.
it was great because instead of carrying a fully formed out bow in one hand like this, having it in the bag was a little easier to carry.
Oh,
Still 30 pounds, but it was a better weight
I
for those
imagine
30
it
pounds.
was.
The other mishap I had was with my Black Widow, and that's the patches I have on the version I have, because the version I have is when she's from Avengers, the first movie.
Oh, the black leather one.
Yeah, it's my version of it, and so there were patches I put on the arms, which were Shield logos, and one of them kept falling off because I would keep putting on and off a backpack, and then the other one started falling off because the adhesive I used to attach it didn't stay on the shirt I was using, and so it sort of just slowly like fell off during the day, and I almost lost it. Luckily, I was at my friend Triple Click's booth, and his partner Lead Couture. She was like, "Oh my gosh, your badge fell off!" And I was like, "Where is it?" And we found it on the ground, luckily. But it just like the adhesive just went. Mwah.
Yeah, and
It was the
that
wrong adhesive. I'm learning more about adhesives and things and what can it stick to what. And
I
that was
mean, that's why before I think some advice um from what I've heard from what I heard on here is, try do when you're at home, test it at home and see if it will find, like you said, find the many different methods, find the one, and pun intended here, find the one that sticks.
yeah, totally. I
Bad
think
pun.
the other thing I did the first time I did that Black Widow cosplay, I didn't want to do a wig because I've had a wig on before, and I didn't like the way the heat, because I'm a very warm bodied person, the heat from it was hard. And so I found this paste that colors your hair. It's like a pomade, but also colors your hair.
I've heard of that.
Well, because I have black and white hair, not like a solid brown hair or black hair or reddish hair, the red paste made it pink.
Oh, I mean, red does that with white color.
I didn't realize that. So I had pinkish hair.
I'm not meaning to laugh, but that is not fun when
Yeah. Well, luckily I did it on my. I had a goatee that day, and I thought, oh, I'll have a goatee that'll make me more masculine. So I put it on here first, and as I looked up from doing it, I realized, oh no,
Oops.
that's not working. That's
We done
not.
goofed.
So that
Oh
was the other
man.
thing. I didn't test the hair product in my hair beforehand to see if it worked. So that's the other thing is, like you said, testing things. I really,
Advice for those who are watching: test, test, test
yes,
before you. That goes the same way with body paint. Test, go a little spot on, do a little thing on your
yep,
forearm before you cover yourself
yep. Well, not
in
only
body
that,
paint.
making sure if you're gonna have layers of different body paint or paints on your body, make sure that it looks good. Because as I said in the last video I was on, I think I talked about my Thrawn and how.
Actually, no, you didn't.
Oh, I didn't. So I have made the face paint, body paint. I have a tutorial on make face painting on my YouTube channel of doing Thrawn. And the first time I did it, I blocked out or covered my eyebrows, and the color that I used to cover my eyebrows was really light. And then I put the blue paint on, and so it after I put all the blue paint on, I looked at myself, and it was this gradient of blue.
I see the picture on your Instagram from 2020. Would it be okay if I show it?
Yeah, you can show. You can definitely show that.
All right,
Um,
I'll always show.
this is
I'll be
what I
showing a bigger picture, but
This was
this is
after the
from his
first time I
cosplay.
did it. So that's the better version. The first version, you see where the eyes are, it was very light in color because the what I used underneath to block out my actual eyebrows was too light, and so it was like a bad primer or foundation for the blue. And so I did that. I spent a day making that video and putting that make blue makeup on, and then watched the video back the next day and realized, oh no, that does not look good. That does not look right. So I just got rid of all that footage and started all over from scratch and did it right did it better the second time, so that it looks the way it does in that video and in that picture. But I haven't
Nice.
actually done that full cosplay because I haven't gotten the actual clothing that Thrawn wears. So that's, I
I
guess,
would. I think I can't wait to see you do Admiral Thrawn as well.
yeah, I definitely have that on my list of actual ones I need to do. I just have to figure out and either commission someone or have someone help me make his tunic that he wears because he has a certain kind of tunic that he wears.
Yeah, his officers, his admiral officer
Yeah.
outfit, whatever you
Yep.
want to call it.
Yep.
Um, Now on to my favorite question, and if anyone's familiar with, because I know Joel was for the 2022 convention recap, cosplay and convention horror stories slash awkward funny moments.
Oh, let's think about this. In 2022, I think the um the awkwardest moment I think was when I tried to do my Kitty Pride Marauders and I was con crunching and that didn't go well. Like that was the first time I
Oh
ever really con.
no!
It didn't go well, and so I got to the con wearing half the. I decided, okay, I'm not going to wear it fully into the con. I'll change at the con because I was working for the at the Pacific Northwest Guild of Cosplayers booth, and we also had changing area. So I thought, well, I'll just wear the pants I'm going to wear with the boots, and I'll just have a t-shirt on, and then when I get to the con, I will do my volunteer time when it's time for me to volunteer for my actual volunteer shift at the booth for the guild. I'll put the full thing on. So I go to get there, and of course, it's this con usually isn't this time of year, but it was in the summer this year, and it was super hot. And well, I put it on, and after 10 minutes, I was melting. I was so hot because it's like 3 layers of clothing that the character wears, and I just couldn't handle it, so I had to change out of it. And so that was my like one thing is the fact that I con crunched it and didn't get it done, and then I was just like sweltering in this thing. That
Man,
goes back to the
that's
idea of being comfortable. So thinking about like what season of the year is it for that con and whether that's a good time of year to wear that. Um, so yeah,
yeah, definitely comfortability. I feel like is key in my opinion
totally.
when it comes to a cosplay, and I'm just like, yeah, make sure you're comfortable. Also, if you can, and I know not everyone can. Make sure you're able to go to the bathroom in that thing.
Yes, that's the thing. With that's why it's hard for me to decide what to do with Doctor Fate is because there's different outfits.
Mm.
I'm thinking if I make it that way, how am I going to go to the bathroom? So that's the question. That's the question with him is like, how do I make going to the bathroom on my own possible?
Oh yeah, that's definitely be a
Yeah,
that's gonna be a tough one.
yeah.
Oh man. Let's see here. And we're moving quite along here because you've already answered a good chunk of my questions, which there's nothing wrong with that. Oh yeah, your favorite convention moment, something to this day that you'll never forget because it's something that like made you really happy and excited.
Um, oh, so many memories. Oh, so many memories. Okay, let's go with one from San Diego Comic Con from when I was a kid. Let's do that. I haven't talked about this one. I think on a video. Um, so I was at San Diego Comic Con. I think it was 92, 93, I think.
And I was just
And
born then.
oh, now you're making me feel old. Uh, I was um, I was interested in maybe getting into like comic books, the industry itself. I didn't know what I wanted to do, but I wanted to do something. And so like I went and hung out at the booths that the publishers had. And at San Diego Comic Con, DC Comics, Marvel Comics, all the big comic book publishers are there, and they have very large booths. One of the things that DC Comics does is they have this whole thing where you can meet with the editors and creators and show them your art or your ideas and talk to
I've
them.
heard of that. I've heard of that. That was a thing back
It's
then.
it's still they still do it at the cons. They still do it at that, and I think they actually started doing it this year at another big con. I can't remember which one. Marvel started doing it, but it's a really great way for new and upcoming creators to get hired, even if they get hired to just do one comic book or a part of a comic book. Um, and so I got involved in that, and I went to some of the different like um, panels, and somehow I ended up at the DC booth hanging out with Eddie Berganza, the editor, Devin Grayson, she was a writer, and Phil Jimenez, who is also an artist and creator.
I've
And
heard
just
of
hang
them.
out with them at the booth, and it was just so fun. And I was maybe like 17, 18 maybe, and it was just neat. And so it's really cool nowadays to like see Phil Jimenez and where he's at now in his career and the things he's made and the things he's done and just how amazing it is to see the work he's done. He just recently did some work for Wonder Woman for an anniversary picture and stuff. He's really one of my favorite comic book artists because his work sort of looks like Marv Wolfman, who or George Perez, I mean, who's also really
Rest in peace to him.
yeah, rest in peace, George Perez. George Perez and George Phil got to work with George Perez, and Phil did a lot of stuff with the Titans and Teen Titans as well, along with Wonder Woman and others. And he's right now in the process of rebooting his own his own IP that he has. Um,
Nice.
so yeah, that was a
That sounds like really cool, especially like back in the '90s, where you know,
and this was
from
like just before Image happened. Like it was 2 years before Image occurred.
and these guys were just start. These guys were just starting out, and now they're big time people. So like meeting them back then,
It
like
was yeah.
before they became really big.
I have lots
That's really cool.
I have lots of memories of that year when Image came out. That was an interesting
Wow.
year, and that was an interesting con.
Oh,
Like,
I imagine it
I have
was.
a fun video about that San Diego Comic
Oh,
Con because it was because they announced Image in January or February, and then San Diego Comic Con happened, and that was the first time Image had a booth there, and that was a wild. It was yeah.
oh man, you're like you're now I want to do a podcast again. I have to credit you for this. Like do one called my well actually it's something I planned for a while. I haven't done it yet. It's called my very first convention experience. It may be a short one, but I definitely like especially people who've been doing this for 10 plus years. I want to hear their stories, and I want to hear about what conventions were like for them back then. So, last question. Um, advice in general you want to throw out there for those who are listening and or watching this podcast.
I would say take your time and have fun. There's going to be times where you're going to be so excited to make a cosplay or go to a convention or do something that you might get so caught up in the middle of that thing that it gets to be frustrating and annoying and tiring and hard. But just remind yourself it's for fun. Don't put too much pressure on yourself and what you're doing, and just have fun. And that's going to seem hard, but if you remind yourself, I'm just wanting to have fun. And if something feels too hard or too out of control, or you don't feel it's worth it, then don't do it. And that's okay.
Hey, that's pretty sound advice. So, as I've been doing lately, would you like to promote yourself so people can find you by
Yeah.
dropping those links below?
So I'll drop in the link. The best thing to do is I'll just drop you a link that's called my Linktree link that has all my links to all my stuff. But you can find me on Instagram, TikTok, Twitter, and YouTube as Joel the Geek. I'm also part of the Guild of Northwest Cosplayers or Pacific Northwest Guild of Cosplayers. So I'll send you a link to that. So if you're interested and you're in the Pacific Northwest and looking for a group to join, we're a really great group of people, safe place to meet with other cosplayers. Um, yeah, that's me.
Nice. Well, Joel, I again thank you for coming on to share your cosplay convention experience. I cannot wait to see what you do in the future with your chat, with your vlogs and your cosplays, and also see what cons you'll be going to. So yeah, I think that should do it.
Okay.
And yeah, no, again, thank you. And as always, I am Wayne the Unknown. Until next time, thank you for listening. And as always, thank you for